all really excited to hear our readers, Dr. Barron, Dr. Davis, and Professor Creer, and we thank them in advance for agreeing to entertain us this evening. Before we start, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Windfall in general. As many of you already know, we're the on-campus literary magazine, specifically for Truman students, sponsored by the English department. We publish art, poetry, and prose for students once a year at the end of the year. We are currently accepting submissions. Our fall deadline is November 15th. We do have a deadline in the spring, but it's always better to get it in earlier when we have more time to review your work. For more information and submission guidelines, you can visit our website at windfall.truman.edu. On your website, you'll also find information about our events, such as this and our fiction contest. We'll be announcing the winner of that at the end of tonight as well. So, without any further ado, I'd like to invite Lisa to present our presenters.
Hello, thank everyone for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Our first presenter will be Professor Jen Creer, MA. She is an instructor of 2 sections of creative writing and 1 of technical writing. Ms. Creer has taught a variety of other classes at Truman, including WACT, American Lit, Writing with Lit, and Grant Writing. Since 2005, she has worked primarily as a medical writer for a variety of family physicians throughout the US and Canada. She writes primarily poetry and personal essays, and she will be presenting for us tonight. So if everyone would give her a big round of applause.
Thank you. Last time I was in front of a crowd this big, I was talking about how to write grants. So, I don't know, consider yourselves lucky or not, but I'm not going to do that today. Also, if you'll bear with me, I'm going to take advantage of technology and to take pictures so that I can give my students extra credit for being here, because they're lovely and showed up. Smile. All right, got it. I can send pictures of these to the rest of you guys too. When they asked me to read, I asked them if I could read a lot of works by other people, and they said, no, we really want you to read your stuff. And I said, well, can I read nonfiction? Well, we'd really like you to read poetry. Okay, I can do that too. I did my master's degree here, and I did a creative thesis, and Dr. Windfall was my thesis advisor. And so I was determined not to reread any of those poems tonight, because there are people here who've read that thesis, and I thought that would be embarrassing. So this is all new stuff. You guys are my test audience. I'm going to start with a couple of what I would classify as poems. My students here know that I kind of classify poems as poems or slam poems, but we've also done some found poems and erasures, and so I'm going to throw in a little some found poems in there too. So I've got a couple slam poems too. So this one doesn't really have a title. It's just one that I wrote in the backseat of a car a few years ago. So, driving down to the mall for a burger, sitting in the back seat, 40-year-old teenager. My parents sit in front, my mother talks about neighbors. Connie doesn't like the word dementia. So many variables. I stare out the window at the mountains, how beautiful the light is, hitting trees, brick buildings, windows. Well, then what word should we use? The sun lights up the bottom of the mountains, craggy brown rocks seep through snow. There are just so many variables. Their voices bickering, breaking through all of that light. This one's called Primate. No monkey has died during isolation. When initially removed from total social isolation, however, they usually go into a state of emotional shock, characterized by autistic self-clutching and rocking. 1 of 6 monkeys isolated for 3 months refused to eat after release and died 5 days later. The autopsy report attributed the death to emotional anorexia. Monkey babies cling to fabric mothers, ignoring wire rivals, clothes hangers with food. The same part of me reaches for you even in sleep and hungers when you are not there. This one's called Valentine, and my students are probably laughing right now. They're like, you said we couldn't do that. Yeah, I get to make the rules, right? Valentine. No apples fall from these fallow trees. My branches ache in their empty poses, reaching upward frozen. I have no honey words to drip into ears plugged from years spent in closed underwater spaces. Winter briskness slows life to cold isolation, silent stillness, puffs of white smoke we breathe in February moonlight. I can give you this. One hand on your face, one at your waist, my frosty mouth, your shaven neck. This one's called Blunt, and it was an actual conversation, but I won't give the context for it. Blunt, this is your first and last meeting. You lean forward. His head is shiny and smooth in the middle, lined with moles down his cheeks. Your hands clasp and unclasp. Blue eyes hidden behind glasses, eyelids, your glance at the floor. Nice pants, brown shoes, beige shirt. You are perfectly average. You hold your hands and grip them closely. Let's just be blunt, he says. I wish I had killed him. Is that blunt enough for you? He laughs and flutters his hand, holding it before him. He laughs again. Well, I'm glad you didn't. You don't seem sophisticated enough to have gotten away with it. You sit up straighter, lean back on the couch, your cold/friendly blue eyes. His brown. He offers a tissue. I'm not crying. He leans forward to hear, don't underestimate me. I would have gotten away with it. I would be a great murderer. He laughs again, removing his glasses, and wipes your words from them. Let the record show we are kidding, he says. Let the record show we are kidding. All right, now I'm going to move into some found poems before I do slam. And I've been having a really good time with the Taos police reports lately. I've got a friend who just moved to New Mexico, and she likes to post the Taos police reports as her Facebook statuses. And these are all found poems. I want to marry whoever writes these because they're just priceless. So, all right, I've got these broken up into sections kind of from the different weeks. So week one is first. Week one, caller reported that there were 3 men sitting in the parking lot with a dog. Caller said it just seemed weird. Caller reported that he found a tailgate, a sock, and shoe in the street. Caller said he felt it was very strange. Caller reported that she received a court document that she was confused about since she pays her rent, is a vegetarian, and keeps herself clean. Caller added that if this didn't get squared around, she was going to get out of here. Caller reported that there was a bear on his neighbor's porch. Week 2. Caller said she thought someone was walking around on her roof. Caller reported people selling sagebrush on the street. Caller reported thinking something weird was going on at his house. Caller wanted to make a report regarding the parking lot sweeper being too loud. Caller reported he is confused, having hallucinations, and very upset. Caller requested an ambulance to send him back to Vegas. Week 3, caller reported that a man took off with some chili and some Kool-Aid. Caller reported that an 8-year-old was showing her his privates, flipping her off. Caller reported that he went next door for a quick tattoo, and while he was gone, someone stole his laptop. Caller reported that there were about 9 people who stuck their heads through the bedroom window. When I first read that, I imagined 9 heads sticking out the bedroom window, and then I thought, what if they were sticking in the bedroom window? Week 4. Caller reported that there was a man walking up the street screaming and yelling at him. Caller said the man was threatening to kill him if he didn't, quote unquote, take an oath before God. Caller reported that a man had 12 dogs tied up and no one could sleep. Caller reported that there was a man who kept knocking on her door asking if she did drugs, and if so, could he have some? This one is from a blurb that I saw from the LA Times, which I've liked. I get their stuff in my newsfeed on Facebook. Isn't Facebook great for poetry? And it kind of has to have a visual because it's a woman, just a lone woman skateboarding in California. Okay. So, found poem from LA Times, October 1, 2012. Authorities cited the newlyweds who tried to get on the closed 405 freeway over the weekend and the group of rollerbladers, but they didn't see Cindy Whitehead, former professional skateboarder who lives in Hermosa Beach. Go Cindy. And then they're women now, two people that I used to babysit when I was 12 and they were very small, kept in touch, and we've kept in touch with each other, so I observed written on from Karen's wall to Emily's wall. Leah says, when her and H grow up, they will get married. They will not live with me or you, but we can visit. They will have 5 babies. All the girls will be named Emily, and the boys will be named Jack. But I don't have to feel bad about not having any babies named after me, because to buy a house for her and H, all her toys are up for sale, and I can be her #1 assistant in the toy sale. She says, in order for me not to be lonely, I will have to get 3 dogs. You can take care of her imaginary cat, Jasmine. So anyway, Facebook, good source of found poetry. All right, now I'm going to do some slam stuff that I've performed before. Yep, I think all of it. Oh well. But you guys didn't see it, most of you. So I'm going to start with the one called Silent Night, and this, the prompt for this, the reason for this, was because we were asked to do scary poems for Halloween. And so I thought, well, okay, that sounds fun. So this is my scary Halloween poem, and since it's October, you know, it kind of fits. Sorry. It's called Silent Night. What was it like? Was it already dark? Was twilight falling on the woods, sunlight dappling through slits in the trees? The forest was so quiet that you didn't notice. The birds were silent and the leaves no longer crunched with forest activity. Small animals had frozen in place. You were still moving, still humming by the river, filling your canteen, thinking about the fire you just made, the pot you're going to smoke, the marshmallows melted in the moonlight from last night, sleepy sex in a tent, grinding her back into the hard ground, tiny rocks and little twigs. You trot back to the campground as loud as 50 elephants, exuberant, thirsty, sleepy, happy, in love, and incredibly good smelling to something that was lazy, angry, and hungry. Later, it was reported that the bear had been starving. Winter approaching, the air apple crisp, snow on the mountains, the bear was starving and angry and lazy, and there you were. You duck your head and part the flap and step into the tent with the bear. You stare at his chest and slowly lift your chin, tip your neck back to see his face shrouded in shadow. Is the bear your totem, a wanderer, a symbol, a ghost, some weird apparition that smells musky, muddy, shitty, grassy, and wet? The bear is frozen, living outside of time, holding its breath only because it can't devour you entirely. You, some totem, a wanderer, a symbol, a ghost, some weird apparition that smells earnest, smoky, sweaty, sexy, afraid. You have forgotten her until this moment. When you hear her crunching through the trees, singing Dancing Through Life from Wicked, she has gathered mushrooms, flowers, strawberries. She has daisies to wear in her long hair, a crown for the queen of the forest. She is thinking about your smile when you see the strawberries, and you only have a moment to shout. That was based on a story my kid told me at the time about this couple that got eaten by a bear. All right, this one needs a, gosh, I feel so old. I read the Archie comics when I was growing up. Love the Archie comics, yay. And Archie was dating Betty and Veronica, like for the past 60 years, okay? And so he finally chose. And this is, then they copped out and like made him marry both of them. Now this is an issue like married to Betty, married to Veronica. But anyway, he first chose Veronica though. She's the brunette, and so I wrote a poem about it. But that's a collector's edition, so no taking the plastic off. I bought that with a friend, and I said, I'm scared to even read it because it's in plastic and it's a collector's edition. And he was like, I think you can go ahead and read it. He's going to want that. Archie. I found out yesterday that Archie chose Veronica. He chose Veronica over Betty after almost 60 years. What was it, Archie? Was it the fact that her raven hair is as shiny as the day you first met, the third day of junior high, standing in the corner of the hallway, watching crowds of teens walk by, her cherry lip caught between her teeth, those violet eyes, hair falling over her shoulder, a black wing that promised she could fly, that she could take you to greater heights? Movement around you stopped when you saw her books held to her chest, her arms holding them as if she could hold herself, protect herself, hide herself, keep herself separate from the greasy hair, salty smells, pimply cheeks, jocks, cheerleaders, and geeks. The way she raised her face towards you until her eyes locked, and maybe that was the day you were lost. But oh, Betty, the day she threw sand in your eyes when you were 5, you saw your future written in every grain embedded in your forehead. Betty with her blonde hair and blue eyes, scrubbed clean with a ready smile, homemade pies and no sense of style. Was it that Betty was too good, writhing with purity in your jalopy? The way she bit your tongue the first time you saw her little nipples? But Veronica was fire to Betty's ice, taking you in her mouth your sophomore year, those eyes gazing at you. Betty didn't stand a chance. Ronnie, who took your cherry just as sweetly as she took your heart in that hallway surrounded by awkward adolescents, a rose in a field of weeds. But oh, Betty. The first time she turned to you lying on a blanket in the woods, her blonde hair wrapped around her like a shawl or a halo or an angel's wings, or Icarus who flew too close to the sun. Betty, whose tender sincerity promised a life of casseroles and baby carriage, 9 o'clock bedtime, boring marriage, a routine sex life and matching dishes, and a quiet end to all your wishes. Who can say, Archie, whether you should have listened, the crying public who fanned the flames of Betty's grief with disbelief that your courtship, which wasn't brief, had ended when you caught a glimpse of scooter rides through countrysides, sex and gondolas under stars, loaves of bread and bottles of wine, trips to Europe all the time. Archie, you unsteady romantic, standing at the gas station, fumes, gravel road, sun seeping through your glasses, staring down the road, then back at the convertible. Who could blame you for smiling as the wind lifts her hair, the smoke from her cigarette, her lipstick, her cherry lips, pursed towards you in a kiss? All right, until a few years ago, mostly because I ended up spending about 6 months out of town and got out of the habit, I used to go to karaoke every week without fail. There are people in this room that I have done karaoke with. I will not name names, Dr. Riddle. And there are bits of you in here. Karaoke. All of our friends who don't go laugh at us because we go to karaoke every week with great precision. Oh, it's Tuesday night, they say. Are you going to karaoke? My friend Kathy in Minneapolis calls it karaoke. And Jamie D'Agostino says none of us know how to spell it. Karaoke. Karaoke. Young man, there's no need to feel down, I said. Young man, pick yourself off the ground. All kinds of people go to karaoke. College students, townies, medical students, Truman faculty, alcoholics, drug addicts, cancer patients, criminals. But the people we sit with are the theater crowd. I was so nervous around them for the first 3 years that whenever I went up to sing, my left leg shook under my clothes. This karaoke is real karaoke. This karaoke is good karaoke. Those theater people, they really know how to sing. Strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song, killing me softly with his song. I started going to the Golden Spike in graduate school, tucking my kids into bed, saying hi to the sitter and hightailing it to the bar. Karaoke by Wendy. Karaoke was packed with people every week, but then it shut down due to a lack of business. God took his revenge by striking the building with lightning. It went up in flames like a match striking a house of playing cards. Oh, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. During the past 6 years, we have left husbands, met new guys, gone to karaoke. gotten divorced, fought for custody, fought in Iraq, gotten cancer, had surgeries, gotten married, quit smoking, had babies, lost parents, found love, graduated, started smoking, watched 9/11, bought houses, buried friends, had birthdays, and gone to karaoke. During the past 6 years, we have laughed and cried, held crying friends in the bathroom, sung and danced, gotten drunk, flirted with college boys, puked our guts out, drunk shots, drunk gallons of cheap beer, smoked cartons of cigarettes, eaten truckloads of popcorn, and we are still singing at karaoke. And when my soul was in the lost and found, you came along to claim it. I didn't know just what was wrong with me, till your kiss helped me name it. Now I'm no longer doubtful of what I'm living for, and if I make you happy, I don't need to do more. We scour the internet for new songs. Our karaoke friends are our truest friends because we sit there week after week, life after life. Karaoke is our church, and our songs are our prayers, and our songs are our laments. Our songs are our anger and sorrows, our joys and our triumphs. Karaoke teaches us how fine pushing a rock up a hill can be. Karaoke isn't something that you talk about or think about or muse about. Karaoke isn't meta, and this poem doesn't really exist because in the end there is only karaoke, the brief moments that you hold the words and music in your mouth, taking your turn on the stage, and somehow karaoke makes us whole. It somehow keeps us from shattering or falling to pieces or staying hunched in bed under piles of blankets that hide our heads. Thank you for the music, the songs we're singing. Because no matter what else we are doing, whether we are laughing or crying, holding steady or dying, we pick ourselves up every week and drag ourselves to the bar, and we sit with our friends and our beer and we sing. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. For we're all in the mood for a melody, and you've got us feeling all right. Thank you.